what's your favorite least favorite aspect of the game currently? It's a hard question. My least favorite aspect of the game is that it's buggy at the moment. We're gonna get around to that.
Actually, I was playing it a bunch today.
I haven't played it in like a couple of weeks actually.
Yeah, it's actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
Still a couple of things here and there, but I put in some bug reports.
It's getting there.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully by the time it gets to you guys. Oh boy, if you would have played, like, people don't know how broken the game can be. Like,
this is in general with game dev.
Yeah.
Right? Like, games are so broken until, like, the second they're not, then they go out. But 99% of the time when you play the game, it's awful because it's so broken.
It's so interesting because, like, when you... I've taken part in a lot of, like, what are they called? They're not play tests, but, like, when you're... Companies sometimes do the thing where they have the developers sit down with someone else and they play the game, and then, like, they don't talk to each other. They just watch the person play the game, right? And they, like, talk out loud what they're thinking, like what they're trying to do. So it's sort of like a, you know, just verifying that, like, oh, does this make sense or whatever. It's so interesting when you have game developers do that with other game developers, because then, like, people point out stuff where they know, like, oh, this is broken, but I know that this is probably not important to mention, whereas other people can get really hung up on, like, details. And like, I think that's part of the game development. It's like, you know, sort of where the possibilities lie when you see a bug or not. There's, like you mentioned, like, the majority of the state of the game is that it's broken while you're developing it.
Yeah. I've heard people, like, I tell people that I make games, like, oh, that must be fun. You get to play games all day. And I'm like, I mean, I do get to play a game most of the time in its worst possible state.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just part of it. That's what it's like when you're building it. It's just kind of...
It's crazy when you look back at, like, what the game looked like. Sometimes it can be just in, like, a month. Mm-hmm. The game is, like, in a completely mess, and then suddenly it just works.
It's also really wild, like, how small things can ruin your entire experience.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you know, like, the game can be, like, I've had this with many games. The game can be, like, largely working. There could have been, like, massive issues that people were, like, trying to fix. And then you get in and you're like, oh, the escape button doesn't close the menu. Yeah. Urgh! It's like, whoa. Yeah, it's like, why is that frustrating? But yeah, it is frustrating.
So, like, one example was that the when we were testing this has been fixed now, but, like, one of the inputs for when you're closing menus are in our game, like, you used to be able to, like, right click to close it. Mm-hmm. And that's, like, muscle memory for me. So, like, when that broke...
I reported that today, actually.
Yeah. Oh, is it still in?
In one area.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Like, it's like muscle memory. So, like, when it's not there, it feels like, oh, it feels like the whole menu's broken.
Yeah. But it's like, it's the smallest thing. It's not a big deal. Yeah. But
and it was such a small thing that I couldn't even, like, put my finger on what it was.
Yeah.
Because it was just muscle memory. I was doing something and I kept ending up in a weird state.
And and it's so interesting what kind of blockers you can have. Like, because if I tell you guys, like, through the development of this update and most updates, and probably with most games, like, a bug was introduced that stopped everyone from playing the game, right? This is the most disastrous outcome, right? It happens. It just happens. It's normal, right? But you're like, ooh, what could that have been? Like, did it not start up? Was there, like, GPU issues? Was there, like, did the game hang? Like, what? It's like, no, the X on one of the menus didn't work. Like that's it. It's like, that stopped everyone. Everyone's like, I can't play. And it takes 2 seconds to fix, right? But, like, sometimes that happens. It's just sometimes it happens. It could be the most mundane little thing.
Yeah, or,
it's
like,
so funny.
Another one that we had was if you press the close, you know, that, like, quick wheel that shows up when you're, like, scanning for ores and stuff?
Yeah.
There was a bug where if you click that too fast, it would show up and then never close.
Oh,
That's also a fucking game stopper. Like, I can't close the menu.
Yeah. It's so funny when you get some of these weird little things. You're like, how is this the thing that's stopping us right here?
Yeah.
But they're usually easy things and they get fixed, like, right away, so it's not a big deal. Yeah. But it's just kind of funny.
And it's like tracking down all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.